Governments establish the rules of the game under which firms operate. Therefore, multinationals often engage with host governments with the aim of exerting influence over host country public policy in ways that are favorable to their corporate interests. For example, Google is among the top US multinationals lobbying the European Commission with the aim of exerting influence over copyright legislation in the European Union. However, multinationals are increasingly choosing a different approach in some host markets. Specifically, they are choosing not to engage with some host governments while actively adapting to host country public policy. In a study published in the Global Strategy Journal, I, Maria de Villa from Universidad EAFIT, with co-authors Tazeeb Rajwani from University of Surrey, Thomas Lawton from Cork University Business School, and Kamel Mellahi from University of Warwick, explore in detail this different approach. We examine when do multinationals choose not to engage with host governments, and how do multinationals deploy this choice? To answer these questions, we tracked over 16 years the approaches toward host governments chosen by Nutresa, a large Colombian multinational, in its 5 primary host markets: the United States, Costa Rica, Venezuela, Ecuador, and Nicaragua. Nutresa leads the food business of one of the most powerful business groups in Colombia, called the Grupo Empresarial Antioqueño, or GIA. In 2015, GIA generated an income of $50 billion, which accounted for more than 5% of Colombia's GDP. We selected Nutresa because despite identifying opportunities and having the political resources and capabilities required to engage with host governments, Nutresa deliberately chose not to engage with some of the host governments of its primary host markets. In particular, Nutresa chose not to engage with the host governments of Venezuela, Ecuador, and Nicaragua, while it chose to engage with the host governments of the United States and Costa Rica. When did Nutresa choose not to engage with host governments? Nutresa chose not to engage with host governments when its senior managers perceived high levels of political risk in host markets. They perceived high levels of political risk based not only on public political risk ratings, but also via Nutresa's home and host government relations. These relations are likely to be distant or close. Distant relations between Nutresa's Colombian home government and the host governments of Venezuela, Ecuador, and Nicaragua increased Nutresa's senior managers' perceived political risk in these host markets. And consequently, Nutresa chose not to engage with these host governments. In contrast, close relations between Nutresa's Colombian home government and the host governments of the United States and Costa Rica decreased Nutresa's senior managers' perceived political risk in these host markets. And consequently, Nutresa chose to engage with these host governments. Building on the case of Nutresa, we also identified how the choice of not engaging with host governments can be deployed by multinationals through 4 non-engaged political strategies. First, the low visibility strategy. Second, the rapid compliance strategy. Third, the reconfiguration strategy. And fourth, the anticipation strategy. First, the low visibility strategy allows multinationals to minimize their public visibility and risk exposure, thereby reducing the likelihood of being the target of discriminatory policies or expropriation. Second, the rapid compliance strategy ensures that multinationals incur in high-speed actions to comply with host country public policy to avoid sanctions, closure, or even expropriation. Third, the reconfiguration strategy enables multinationals to rearrange their structure and processes, not to rapidly comply with host country public policy, but rather to efficiently sustain competitive operations. Fourth, the anticipation strategy allows multinationals to gain a first-mover advantage by anticipating future public policy directions and ways to gain social support to enhance their legitimacy in the host country. If you are interested in multinationals' approaches to host governments, we invite you to download from the Global Strategy Journal our article titled "To Engage or Not to Engage with Host Governments, Corporate Political Activity and Host Country Political Risk." We also invite you to contact us via email at mdevilla@aafit.edu.co.